Okay. Evening?
Sort of.
Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first ever men's life skill series. We want to be a big shout out to Hanan for organizing this and really giving us the important skill that we need to have to learn how to run our finances in a proper way, in a mental way, and hopefully be able to live a financially fulfilled life and not take care of our needs for the family and for the Jewish community and for the Chassidus.
Oh, you're on your phone.
Yeah. Looking forward. Have an amazing night.
Okay. So those of us on Zoom or other online methods, and those of us here, hopefully we're seeing my screen. I'm guessing we are. Sure, you can see my screen on the video? All right, cool. Fine. Okay, so this is gonna be interesting, but this is what it is. So my name is Adam Kent. I am an accountant by trade. I do internal accounting, meaning I work for a company doing accounting work. What does that mean in personal finance? Well, more than you'd think, because there's a lot of different areas people work in accounting, and common people think tax. Tax is great. Tax is only one area of many for accounting. However, tax doesn't go into the rather categorizations that are needed that applies more to personal accounting from a corporate accounting background than from a tax point of view. I happen to have my master's degree in accounting from YU, as well. I am an MBA candidate at YU, and I'll be finishing in a few months with my MBA as well. So if you want to know my credentials, there you are. If anything you hear tonight you think is not right, don't trust me. Just Google it, find it, and you can come back to me and say, hey, I saw this. Like, what does that mean? We'll talk it out. Because first thing, I'll get into a little bit more details, but thing with personal finance is a lot like dieting. Everyone has their own opinion, and they're all partially right to some extent. Some are more right than others. But we'll get into that more in details in the class. So that's my background, so you know why you should at least trust me. And besides the fact, I probably read more personal finance books than anyone else I know, and I can show you my shelf at home, and it's quite extensive on the various people I've read from and the different versions of the same author I have too. But good evening. Thank you for coming here. I appreciate everyone who's here online or watching whenever you are, as well as my fans in person. Hi, fans. So, start off I do like jokes and stories and stuff like that. So we start off with something a little bit humorous, and hopefully we'll see how it applies to personal finance. There was once a guy named Moshe. Moshe lived in a town where there was a heavy rain. Rain got up to Moshe's the footsteps of his door, and people were saying, Moshe, you gotta go. Like, it's time to evacuate. And he said, no, Hashem will save me. Well, now the water raised above to the door, and now he's sitting in his window, and halfway through the door, and he's sitting at the window, and people are like, Moshe, come on. Like, we can still save. He said, no, Hashem will save me. Now the water's past his first floor. He's sitting in a second floor window, and the boats are coming by, and people are like, Moshe, come, we'll save you. And he's like, no, God will save me. Hashem will save me. I'm fine. And then now the water's all the way up to his roof, and the helicopter comes, and they drop the rope, and they say, Moshe, come, we'll save you. And he says, no, Hashem will save me. Needless to say, Baruch Dynamis, we think we all know where Moshe went. And when he went up to heaven, he went up to Hashem and said, hey, how come you didn't save me? Hashem says, what do you mean? I sent people to warn you. I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. How many ways do you want me to come and save you? So that's a lot like, oh, just mute yourself. Oh, you're just hearing it. No, you're hearing the feedback. All right, fine. We'll deal with it. So sorry for the feedback, technical difficulties. All right, so we got Moshe, and what does that have to do with finances? Well, we'll find out as we get on, but you'll see the fact that it takes more than just hoping for God. I've talked to a lot of people, and the reason why I got into personal finance was because of my corporate background. I worked for a lot of small business owners, and I've done a lot of consulting for small business owners, nonprofits, and I found one thing in common with people who are very bad at the finances of their company. They're bad at personal finances too. So I learned that I have to teach both sometimes to help people. But like Moshe, I've been told by people that they don't need to save because they'll win the lottery. And that sounds a lot like Moshe to me. But yep, tonight we're having an open conversation. This is a conversation starter. This is something that affects everyone's homes. If you like it or not, money is part of it. It can affect shalom bias for the positive, and chas v'shalom the opposite too. It's also our ability to give tzedakah. This is money, cash. I want to be one thing clear. This is not me going to be judging you on how you spend your money or how you save your money or how much you make. I could care less. I'm here to help you and give you the information that you need to know for this topic. So this is not about investing tips, even though I will talk about investing a little bit very quickly. This is not a get rich quick. This is just life skills. And it's more about tzedakah than it is about anything else. And I do apologize for the tzedakah being spelled wrong. I blame AI slop, and I didn't have time to fix it. I apologize. So without further ado. So money is not a tool. Financial stress is one of the biggest sources of tension in a lot of families these days. Not because people don't care, it's because people don't have the knowledge to how the stress affects them. And it's going to affect your judgment, chas v'shalom. It's going to affect patience possibly, and also peace of mind. People who are struggling with finances tend to sleep less, and that kind of spirals into other issues. It's not uncommon that I've worked with mental health counselors in conjunction with some clients, because there are some issues that are definitely going on there that are beyond my ability to help, which I'm fine with bringing in more professionals if someone's willing to have some help there. So money can feel unclear. Everything is heavier when that happens. The decisions all of a sudden, instead of being calm and cool, they're urgent. Out of nowhere, you have to do this. When you reduce all these unknowns, anxiety will drop, hopefully. And even though numbers aren't perfect, clarity does help. So even if everything's not working perfectly, sometimes just knowing what's better is going to help more. So what's the real problem with money? Let's first talk about what people think versus what it actually is. When people talk about money struggles, they usually point to external factors: not earning enough, not the cost of living, like taxes, inflation. We can't really do much about inflation, but we can do stuff about taxes to some extent that you need to talk to a tax professional, but there are some things to be done there sometimes. Cost of living, unfortunately, most from communities live in very expensive places. That's just the nature of our lives, unfortunately. And not earning enough, well, maybe you should be earning more than you're actually worth.
I'm gonna ask questions now. Or should we wait?
You can wait till later. Actually, you can ask now. This is kind of informal, probably.
Yeah. I'm not bad at the taxes. You're saying that it makes using the proper, a good accountant can help you.
So,
meaning if someone like to make a difference how much money you're making,
it's not so much about the amount of money you're making. It's how you plan your taxes. So tax planning is its own specialty, and I really suggest people who have in that situation to talk to a professional tax person.
in that situation,
Everyone pays taxes. However, I mean, that situation is, it depends on the person's personal things. You have children, so there's some deductions from that. Do you own your own business?
Simple people shouldn't be doing their own taxes.
I don't say that. They should know what they're doing. If they're doing their own taxes, they should know what they're doing.
If they say there's nothing to know.
So it depends. It really, a lot of these things are very, very particular and depends on the personal situation. It's not just a one size fit all solution in tax or anything in personal finance, because it's a million one factors you have to go into. Because if someone is just a W-2 worker, let's say them and their spouse are W-2 workers, they can do certain things to reduce their tax burden, but there's not much they can do. If they're a 1099 or they own their own business, there's far more flexibility in what they can and cannot do for lowering their tax burden. And again, that's something that a tax professional should be talked with. And you don't talk to your tax professional in December or January of the year before. You talk to your tax professional in January 26 about year 26. You don't talk about in January, February 26, talking about 2025. There's nothing you can do after the fact outside of a few minor things. But again, that's tax professionals, and I am not a tax professional. I do know about taxes, but I wouldn't call myself professional by any means.
But you would say that the person, the fellow, shouldn't just say, I'll contact myself, you should speak to someone.
Depends on the situation. Like everything. The question was, should someone do their own taxes or not? In case you can't hear online. It really just depends on their personal situation.
Wouldn't it help to ask someone at least once that knows?
So it depends on how much the person actually knows themselves. A lot of these tax programs have pop-ups that really explain a lot of things. So if you know what you're doing and you can look for it, great. If you don't know, but the problem with
you don't know, you don't know.
Correct. But I'm saying if a person's a W-2 worker, that's there's very little you can do.
Yeah.
If you
I'm think that anyone that always try to go to professional.
The problem is
good.
No, the problem with professionals.
Tell you don't need me.
No. The problem with professional is either telling you don't need you, they're going to charge you money. Most of them don't have a free consulting, or they have half an hour and they may not get all the picture and all the situation. It really depends on if you can find someone who's willing to give you a free consultation if you need their service or not. I do suggest that, yes. If you need to pay for someone to do it, ask someone who just, hey, I have this situation, what can I do? That usually helps more than anything else.
I just know that when I started, I was just married, we were making boxes and we did attack ourselves and we owed all the time. Like, it's not even selling, we don't have money.
So that
and I found an accountant, proper tax guy, and he helped me.
Right, I'm saying in that situation, because again, that's your situation. And it's very complex, and like again, like I said, these things are not simple. None of these things are simple. Like I can spend an all night on just tax itself. Correct. So that's the biggest problem is every year there's a different tax code slightly. So what could be allowed this year may not be allowed next year. What's allowed next year may not be allowed this year, and vice versa. Or the limits can be increased or decreased. But like I said, there are things a person can do with the W-2. It's just much more limited than if they own their own business or if they're a 1099 worker, where they can deduct more things. And if someone is in that situation, I do suggest talking to a tax person. If they see a tax bill when they do it themselves that's ridiculously high, talk to a tax person. Like say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. And if they can get a free consultation, like they can say, yeah, I can help you, or no, I can't. This is your bill. Then that's what you can do. There may be some things you can do. So I know a lot of people in this field that are very good and very helpful in the situations. The one thing I know someone can do is they can put money towards their IRA and it affects the past year up until April. So some people do that. They'll put a certain amount of money so that at least they're saving money in taxes in some way. So like how the basics of taxes work is you have a certain amount of money you make. The government allows certain things to lower your income, and then that's the tax bill you have. Then there's things called credits, which give money back towards that as well. So that's the very basic, high level, quick and dirty taxes. You have state, local, meaning for New York City or other local entities. It gets very complicated very quickly in these situations. But all right, let's back this. So what is it really that people have the problems with money? It's because most damage usually isn't lack of income, it's lack of visibility. So that means the fact that they don't really have a system in place. When they can't see their money clearly, they get emotional gaps involved. Like you had your tax bill and all of a sudden you got antsy. And if someone told you I can help you, but it's going to cost you X amount and it was less than your tax bill, you'd probably jump on it without even thinking about it because it's just easier sometimes just to go for the quick fix. That could help. That can't help. If someone's boiler breaks, now they have to buy the boiler and they don't have any money for it, they're going to probably scramble a lot harder versus that bar mitzvah, is coming up in 13 years. Boy was just born, you have a bar mitzvah in 13 years. We'll talk about more of that later, but there's ways that you're not 2 months later, you don't have to come up with X amount of thousands of dollars. So when emotion is get involved, anxiety rises, and this is where logic isn't used. It's driven hard by decisions of emotion. And we're going to be reactive instead of proactive. So there's a topic called mental accounting, which basically means you're going to lock things into certain categories. Your rent, your grocery money, tuition, and fun money. What are you really spending on? Is that thing we're buying, is that something you need or is that something you want for fun? I'm not advocating people don't spend money on fun. And if you do have me as your coach, financial coach, I actually do work with people to have a budget to have fun because you got to live a little bit. Like, it's part of we'll get into that, but it's part of the reason why people's problems with budgets because they're so rich and so structured. They don't have that ability to have fun with their money. So this is going to create some blind spots. We're going to feel overwhelmed, and we're not going to do the proper things. We're going to be driving at night without any headlights on. And when you're moving forward, you're going to be tense. You're going to be overcorrecting, and you're going to surprise yourself, and you're going to turn into something you really don't want to. Class or shalom. Earning more is like getting a fast car. You can get there faster. It's very helpful, but without visibility, you can make $1 million and be very poor. I can't tell you how many people that are extremely wealthy who aren't wealthy more than you think they check their get collecting. They're paycheck to paycheck, just like someone who's very poor. Fun fact for you, most people who win the lottery end up in poverty. Fun fact for you, most women who go into poverty go into poverty after their husband dies and they're widows. So it's actually more important for women to be involved with their personal finance more than they think, my personal opinion. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think it's like 80% of senior citizen women in poverty or only in poverty after their husband passed away. But for frum families, we have extra fun expenses. We have simchas coming up, God willing. We have tuition. We have responsibilities that add more stress to the picture, unfortunately, if things are not planned properly. So we're going to put everything into 3 pillars. These 3 pillars are solid to navigate you through almost any financial season, whether it's winter and it's bare, it's summer and it's hot and you don't know what to do, or it's spring and it's blooming, or fall and it's somewhere between the two. Everything is there, and all these pillars are important. And if one of them is missing, you're going to have problems, just like a tripod. So let me show you what they are. The first one is your cash awareness, your cash flow awareness. How's money coming in and out? I will go into these in more detail. I'm just going to do it on a high level right now. Sorry, that's not working. There we go. Emergency margin. This is when things go wrong. What do you do with the money? Where's the money coming from? And your debt discipline. Now, people like to think debt is a dirty word. It can be, but again, everything is complicated. But a person has to know what their debt is and keep that in mind. So let's first go into cash flow awareness. You may not imagine that this is the first pillar, but you can't manage without this pillar. Cash flow, knowing where your money's coming in and where your money's coming out, is probably some of the most important things you'll have in the 3 pillars, because this deals with overspending. This deals with your next raise that's coming in. That's being aware of all these things. Most people think this budget is going to be restricting me and I can't function that way. And it can be if you don't budget smartly, and you have to budget for your own personality and your own ways. So behavioral science supports this, and there's a lot of progress in these areas. It's very important, in my opinion, like I said, to plan fun things for you and your family. These things will help you. They'll create memories. And when you're purchasing memories and experiences, the money will go further. It doesn't have to be expensive, but experiences are more important. Second, traits that work better for you that are also good to know. Daily indulges, they may lose their impact. And when you treat them occasionally, they actually have more of a special feel to them. Third, people start buying time. You're outsource a chore from Uber. Like, you don't have the energy to take your kids to this place. You hire an Uber. Could be great for now, but how much is that really costing you? Fourth, you're going to pay now, consume later. Now, this is like prepaying for your vacations, and they're building anticipation, and it reduces reliance on those credit cards. A fifth thing is people invest more in things than some others. Tzedakah and gifts bring a lasting happiness than buying more things for ourselves. Science does confirm what Torah has always taught us, that giving is better than receiving. So after tracking all of your spending for 1 week, there's one simple question. Every expense look at it. Was this fun money or necessary money? And if you see it as fun money, do you really need it or not? Do you really need that extra latte, or can you just go for a normal cup of coffee? Can you buy yourself a $20 coffee maker, or do you need that $500 coffee maker? I mean, I'm not judging anyone for which one they feel is a bigger priority, but also we have our frum expenses of simchas and experiences that build connections over accumulating money, debt that's going to drain us. So
I don't understand what you're saying. So how does a person make that decision? Is there like meaning seemingly just money aside, buy it later? Meaning, you're not saying you can't buy a coffee machine. You can't expect yourself just on a whim just buy it. You don't have the money.
So the question is the fact that how do you decide if it's a fun purchase or not? Necessary purchase?
You're saying for the fun purchase, you need to have an account that
Yeah,
I
I will get into that more later. This is right now just more on a high level.
Yeah.
We'll get into your budget more later. So these are just the pillars as they are, not to prop them. Like I'm just explaining them. We'll go into how they implement in your life slightly different. So emergency margin. So something happens that's a crisis. Hospital, a car breaks down, boiler breaks, or someone hospital needs surgery and it's not covered by the insurance, or so even worse, someone doesn't even have insurance. Now these different expenses, instead of being from a practical point of view, become emotional. They're going to be pain points, and it's going to trigger panic, which is instead of problem solving. Even a small emergency fund will change behaviors. It closes the emergency gap and restores a sense of control. If someone loses their job, how long can you live until you have your next job? You don't know when you're going to get that next job, unfortunately. Well, someone won't know when they get that job if that person lost it. This margin gives you space of emergency, and it's not about wealth. It's about having dignity and calm. So there's also debt discipline, which is very important, and a lot of people do spend their debt kind of poorly. Unmanaged debt is going to steal anything in the future. It's going to quiet any kind of expectations because you're going to be stuck in debt. For example, the Mets had a Bobby Bonilla, which is a baseball player that restructured his contract. The Mets owed him a certain amount of money, and he restructured his contract, so the Mets paid him for the next 30 or 40 years, I believe. And he ended up making much more money than those few $1,000,000 they owed him. And the Mets needed that, and that worked out for them, sort of, but not really. We'll go into that, but it really depends on how you structure debt. Debt can be helpful, debt can be harmful. Depends on how it's being used. Not saying it should be avoided or embraced. It really depends on the person. And these kind of questions, I would really advise someone who talk to a financial coach or a financial advisor could help you through navigate debt, especially. And if debt is out of control, there are very wonderful organizations that will help with these kind of situations. But debt is more about discipline of knowing what you owe and seeing how it fits in the full picture. And having a plan for debt doesn't quite multiply over intensity over time because you're in debt, there are solutions. So why is all this advice confusing? Everyone's giving different advice. And as you heard from me and Sharon, there are a lot of opinions on certain simple things. Like I said before, with when it comes to diets, big question I've seen being pushed around online a lot. Diet soda, is it good for you or not? Is it bad for you or is it harmful? And there's a lot of debate on that situation. I'm not weighing in on that at all. I'm just saying personal finance has a very similar issue. In fact, you're going to have certain people say this, certain people say that, and it seems very, very, very contradictory. So they're solving different problems, and these different situations call for different types of answers. And again, this is where a coach or a financial advisor can really come in and help you because you see this great book, and this and that, and you want to do this, and you want to do that, and sometimes it doesn't really work out that way. If someone needs structure, that's great. If someone doesn't need structure, having a strict budget won't help them. You have to understand your own tendencies and work with someone who can help you with a system that actually works. So back to my favorite topic is actually one size doesn't fit all. And that goes for everything I can say. And I depends. There's a lot of talking heads in this world. Naming some of the bigger ones. Dave Ramsey's a huge one who's dealing with behavior and control, the snowball effect, if you're not sure what that is, it's dealing with your debt and how to clear it as fast as possible with psychological victories, which is a great trick to do. But if someone's feeling overwhelmed and stuck, it can be very helpful. However, Dave's Ramsey, outside of his debt program, Dave's Ramsey program is very strict and very restrictive, and that budget strictness doesn't work for everyone. Then you have Living Chassidi's favorite, who I got to thank Michal for telling me about him, and that's why he's being mentioned now. That's David Beck, who focuses on automation and habits. And so therefore, if someone doesn't want a strict budget, but wants things to work, he helps you get it in the background. Ramit Sethi, who's a personal favorite of mine, he deals with more on what you're earning next, as well as he deals with a lot of automation and how your next raise, how are you spending that? Is that going towards something, or are you investing it smartly, or is it not? Most people, when they have money, they spend it. So if you get your raise and you think it's going to make a difference, it can. It's most likely not, because you're just going to spend more money and you're going to have the same amount of money left in your bank account. Then you have J.L. Collins, who deals with simplicity and patience, and he's more about how you invest your money. And that situation, he suggests, which I am a big fan of, to invest your money in passive mutual funds, EFTs, which is they're low fees, and you kind of set it and forget. You put your money in there. They mirror the SP 500, the full tax stock market, the international stock market, the American stock market, whichever one you want. These are typically the better indicators. Warren Buffett had a actual bet with someone that he'll donate $1 million that of a certain 10-year period starting at when this bet started. If his Berkshire Hathaway outdoes the S&P 500 in these 10-year span, he'll get $1 million. This other guy will donate $1 million to charity. If S&P 500 outdoes Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett will donate $1 million. Warren Buffett donated $1 million because at the end of the 10 years, and even he suggests most people should just do this. It's very good advice. It's probably financially, don't set it and forget it type thing. So hard behavior also plays a factor. If tuition bills, simchas, if it's not planned out, for example, like I said, talk about planning. You have Baruch Hashem, you have a baby boy that's born 13 years later, you're going to have a mitzvah. Now, this is going to cost several $1,000s. If you start putting away money now and invest it in a smart way, talk to an investing expert and a professional, please. But as long as you're meeting, or even if you just put in a box and you're losing money because inflation's outgrowing your money, if you're putting away some amount of money every month, you'll have sizable amount of money in 13 years. If you put away less than $70 a month for 13 years in a box, you'll have over $10,000. Just to give you an example. What? I'm just giving an example. Like no, I'm just talking about the party, which can be anywhere from 4,000 and 7,000 Crown Heights because there's flat packages. It depends on, it's not including the fill-in, it's not including the hat, it's not including this, not including that. I'm just giving an example of a small amount of money to be put away. If you put away $100, and that's without investing, that's just putting in a box. If you invest it, correct. But inflation will outraise it. I'm just saying, worst comes to worst if that's what person did.
I guess really what you're saying is the first thing you got to realize is you have to look ahead and see what's happening.
The first thing, yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. The first thing is you have to think ahead to be proactive, not reactive. That is a very important thing. Can we hold on a moment with my slides because we may answer things because a lot of these questions are all right. So this is one of my favorite topics because it's dealing with Hashtaglis and Betachon. So trust doesn't replace planning, and planning does not reduce trust. Just like my story earlier with Moshe, he had full Betachon that Hashem will save him, and he didn't plan well. If he planned better, he could have been much better off. They go hand in hand. Financial clarity creates space for real Betachon. This is Hashtaglis. Proper effect that allows trust in Hashem without constant crisis. When money feels chaotic, even tzedakah becomes stressful and pressured. Now, I'm saying tzedakah is a great thing, and I'm not trying to minimize it, but there are time frames where someone should give less than tzedakah. Speak to a rav, and I'm being very serious with that. Some people say, I got to give 10% no matter what off the top, and there's reasons to do it. There's reasons. Correct. I was about to say, there's a great share from Rabbi Yaakov Azdaba on tzedakah. If you're interested, please listen. I listened to it. It's an amazing share, and it really gives a lot of clarity in these topics. And he answered a lot of very tough questions, in my opinion, like a true champion that he is. Thank you, Rabbi Azba, for that amazing share you gave a few months ago. So this is what a person has to give. You have to give within your margin, and you have to have visibility and know what you're giving. Put your tzedakah money maybe in a separate account so that way you know how much you need to give. Behavior science confirms what the Rebbe teaches. Pre-social spending investing in others creates more happiness and self-focused than self-focused purchases. If you're putting money into yourself, meaning your selfish desires, you're going to have less enjoyment than if you help others. And that is a big proponent of tzedakah. For example, there is a very famous story, which it may have been a few different people. One of the people is Rabbi Shimon Wertheimer. Montefiore is another person that's placed. Also, give me 1 second. Rothschild, and also Shmuel Hanugid is the other person that was most likely. It was probably Rabbi Shmuel Hanugid or Rabbi Wertheimer. The story took place, but there's different opinions on this. So basically, there's a non-Jew came to a king, and because all four of these men were extremely wealthy, and it could have happened to all four of these men, mind you. Rothschild, I'm a little bit more leery on because of his political power, but it could have happened to him too. So they said that this non-Jewish person got into the head of the king and said to the king, this person, he doesn't pay his proper taxes. He claims he owes a lot less money. He has a lot less assets than he actually does. And the king eventually listened to this anti-Semite, and the king asked for a cheshbon, for an accounting from this wealthy person. And this person calculated everything and gave a number to the king. And the king says, "Oh, no. This number is far too little. I know you're worth far more than that." He said, "No. This is how much money I gave in tzedakah this year." Another version of the story is that's how much tzedakah I've given in my entire life. And that's what I can take out of this world. It's a very valuable lesson. The fact that these very wealthy men, they didn't count their wealth in the millions or maybe the hundreds of thousands, whatever it was in their time frame, because these people could have bought and sold anyone that they met individually without any problems. It was more about what they gave to help others that made their self-worth. And I think that's very important. And also, fun fact, that researchers found across all income levels and cultures that in giving to others helps someone's own perspective of their own health. Giving is not a mitzvah. It's just how Hashem wired happiness. Giving is better if you can. And if you can't give money, you can give time. Like talk to Rav again about tzedakah, but I'm a big proponent of giving it when you can. The Torah allows us to test Hashem through tzedakah, but responsibilities come through. A person can't give halfway the fortune and say, "Hey, Hashem, bless me," when they can't pay their bills. Fortunately, I heard about a case today, someone that's in huge debt, and someone's trying to help them out to get out of the debt, and the person just refuses to stop giving huge amount of tzedakah, even though they're in huge debt. I don't know the halachic responsibility of it, but the person I was spoke to Rav and had a din for this person. The person wasn't listening, unfortunately. Hopefully, the person will listen and get the help they need, because it's very important to not be drowning in your debt. So establish through cash flow awareness, let tzedakah flow naturally. It shapes the giver, and it's going to bring huge brachas. Clarity does not replace bitachon, but it makes it real trust possible. So what can we do now? Track your spending for a week. Break down the mental accounting, meaning break down the different categories you have. Break it down however you want. If you want, give me a call. I do financial coaching. And we can work on together, or talk to some other financial coach or tax professional or accounting professional to see how you can break things down. Most banks even have certain categories on it. The trickiest thing is Amazon, because Amazon, you can buy pretty much anything from your house goods to your clothing to your fun things and everything else. So seeing Amazon doesn't really help. You have to have a little more clarity in that. Then I would say make a list of all your debts. No judgment, just so you know what you owe and to who do you owe. Set a small emergency goal. You can start with $100, $1,000. The goal should be anywhere between 3 and 6 months worth of your personal finances should be in an account that you don't touch unless it's an emergency. So stop one leak that's going on, just one. You can look into it. You can. Everyone has something, most likely, before they start going into it. And that little leak and what you're doing with that leak, put it to something good. If you do these things, you'll realize you have more control than you actually think.
No. So just to be clear, you said track your spending for a week. and then you'll see something that doesn't be.
So if you track your spending, so that way you know where all your money's going, and how much money is that really going to that fun account versus important things you have to have. Like the second thing is know all your debts. The third thing is to set a small goal for your emergency goal. Start with $100, $1,000. Every person depends on their things, but the ultimate goal for that is eventually to have anywhere between 3 and 6 months worth of your expenses, and you won't know that unless you track your spending. You have to know, like, not your fun account, but all the things you have to spend money on, like tuition, um, rent, food. But like, how are you? How much food are you spending on food? Are you going bare minimum? Are you having out to dinner every night at a fancy restaurant? Like, these are things that need to be looked into for these things. And then you can have an honest conversation with your money. So this is going to close the emotional gap you have between your stress and the reality, and see where going is, and find something that a person's overspending on that they don't have to, and cut that leak out. So like when you do all these things, like these 5 small things, like I even have a wonderful 5-step program, hint, 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 that if you want to talk to me about, I'm more than happy to help. And I go into a lot of different philosophies.
Honest mind conversation, same with financial.
You can be with yourself. You can be with your wife. What do you really need? Where does your money?
I feel like after this, makes sense, but after this, what's the next step?
The next step, if someone feels they need and they can't do it themselves, and they don't have a set philosophy.
Let's say they track, they see some leaks, start putting an emergency account, and then they realize it's overspending in certain areas. What should they do next?
They should try to cut these overspendings. Like, I mean, if you're.
What do they do with this? Because it seems to me the money in the account also gets spent.
So money in, money out, yes. That's why I'm a big fan of automating it, so that way your bills just get
Where
paid.
should they automate it to?
That is a more difficult question. It really depends on their personal situations. I can't give you a answer on 1 foot, for the sheer fact that it really depends on it. So like what I'm saying, an open, honest conversation is like a lot of people, once they see all their finances, where all their money's going, and all their debts, there's a lot of great programs that you can use to track your personal finances. Some of them cost money. Some of them are not. Even though one of the more expensive ones is about $120 a year. And if I don't know anyone's personal, but there are cheaper ones than that.
Give us some names.
Rocket Money is one that's a little bit less expensive. YNAB is the most expensive one that's very popular that I'm aware of. These are personal finance trackers. They'll take you can put all your bank accounts, so all the money that you spend and all the money coming in gets tracked and categorized, so you can see where your money's going. You can do it manually, or you can do it automated, like in these problems. Mint used to be very popular. I think they stopped it at one point, but that was a very popular one that people liked. You can Google best financial tracking software or app, and you can have a lot of them have free trials. Try them all. They all different philosophies. Some of them, there's different budgeting things, like there's $0 budgeting, which means the fact that every single dollar is accounted for and it's going to a specific category. There's automation systems like David Back and Seti like to do, so everything's being done and it's automated. So like your savings is being automated, this is being automated, that's being automated. It really depends on the person on what they want to do and how they want to do it. There's also envelopes, which instead of having it categories, you literally take cash and you put them in different envelopes and you write on it Amazon, and you only take money out of that envelope and you spend it physically, like you put on your credit card or your debit card, and then you take the money out of the envelope. It could be like fake money, or you can have real money in there, like your grocery money, for example. And this is how much money you spend on groceries, and that's it. It really depends on the person. I can't say if someone's finding their own leaks and they're still having problems, they need to seek some kind of professional help, to be honest.
Yeah, but I'm saying, what if the person, there's a whole different world out there. The person gets rid of the leaks, or they're managing, taking care of it. it's like, what's the next step? They have to think.
So God forbid if someone has,
Now you have,
if so,
you want a house to-
I'm saying, so these are things that they need to talk to a professional about to help them set up how to have these things set up if they can't figure it out themselves. It's sort of like health. If a person's looking at their health, they're eating right, they're exercising properly, and yet chas v'shalom, they still have health problems, they have to go to a doctor. The same thing. If you're looking at all your finances and you cut a person cuts down all their leaks and they still don't have enough money for
No, I'm saying, and they do. But the problem is, what I understand, and this is I think what you're saying, you're not saying so bearish, but like, if a person cuts out all his issues and he has enough money to survive, but they're not gonna help him, like besides an emergency account, there's more,
well
go buy a
that's
house someday,
so that's
decide for whatever it is.
the question is like future type planning again that's the person doesn't have enough money for all these things. You have to prioritize certain things over others. If or put less money in certain accounts. Like a great example, if a person from age 20 to 30 puts away $2,000 a year in a 401k for their retirement and doesn't put any money in the rest of their lives, and someone from their starting age 30 to 50 or 60 puts in $2,000 a year, they'll have less money when they retire than the person who put in only 10 years when they're younger as a compound interest. It really I want to do this, I want to do that. That's great and it's a wonderful thing. But again, that really depends on the person. And if
What he's saying is the earlier you put money in an account that yields significant, less than 3%, hopefully. I mean more than 3%. And you put it in and you leave it, you don't touch it, the longer you can do that, the more money in the end you'll get.
Well, exactly. If you leave your money untouched and it's collecting interest, you're going to be doing better off. It's sort of like the bar mitzvah account. You start putting money away when a kid is first born. I mean, it may be hard, but even if you're putting in less money than you want, you're putting some money and you're investing it wisely. Again, talk to a professional of how to invest this wisely and safely. Don't buy penny stocks. Yes.
Invest what you were talking earlier, funds, the S&P 500. I heard that the average per year return on investment is around 10%.
So it fluctuates anywhere between as low as 8 as high as 12. As an example, from 2025, the SP 500 gained 22.3%, if I remember right. The number, it was over 20% for sure. Some years under 4 years ago, it wasn't doing so well. It really depends year to year, and it's definitely more. It can be less though. Some years it does crash. It really depends. Like the 2008 crash, stock market crash. Like these things happen.
I heard
It's so
crash it up
it's again, you can't predict these things. It's very.
I'm saying if you can hold on,
Crash. It's always a risk, but it's generally
leaving in the bank, well, there's 3%.
Right. But it
high realization account.
it's again this is something I can discuss off camera and talk to people one-on-one and see where they're holding, and this is not a simple 1 foot answer on anything. These are very good questions, but they're very complicated and out of scope of this course. These kind of questions I feel are more geared to one-on-one to your own personal spending, and I have no problems talking to these things. But to talk about an open forum where everyone's holding different places, like buying a house versus paying off your college tuition bills, like from student loans, are very different conversations. What's more important depends on where the person's holding and how much money they have and this and that. These are all very important things that have to be taken into consideration for sure.
But sure, you're saying that everyone should be having consistently putting money aside for later.
If they
if I'm making $1,000 a month, I shouldn't be just covering my expenses. That money also be put aside for future.
Can it really, like I said, it depends.
Are you saying there's a person that you would tell them, listen, you're making $1,000 a month and that's all you spend, it's fine. You don't have to put emergency, you don't have to put.
I would really need to look into everything that they have going on. How much is their rent? How much is that? How much is that? Like if they really can't afford more than that, then yes. if that's the case,
No, I'm not talking about the account flow.
no, I'm saying,
As a shifter person, it seems to me.
So-
I'm glad as a shifter person, person different sees the situation.